PM M1910 Maxim. The official story: this war is fought with drones and precision missiles. The hidden truth: one of the most effective weapons at Bakhmut was designed in 1884. The PM M1910 Maxim machine gun first saw combat under Tsar Nicholas II. It fought in World War I, it fought in World War II, and in 2022, Ukrainian soldiers pulled it out of storage again. Russian media mocked them, called it desperation, proof Ukraine was running out of modern weapons. They were wrong. Here's what nobody reported. The Maxim has one advantage no modern gun can match. It's water-cooled. While air-cooled machine guns overheat after sustained fire, the Maxim keeps shooting, and shooting, and shooting. In trench warfare, where suppression matters more than mobility, that's not a weakness. It's a superpower. Ukrainian engineers went further. They mounted 4 Maxims together on swivel platforms, added thermal sights, created improvised anti-drone systems to shoot down Iranian Shaheds. A 140-year-old design, hunting 21st-century drones. The weapon that defined World War I is still defining warfare today, but it's not the oldest gun in this conflict. Mosin-Nagants M1910 Russian conscripts in 2023 were issued rifles designed in 1891. Let that sink in. 132 years old, still killing. Footage from Luhansk showed mobilized troops unpacking crates of Mosin-Nagants, some still coated in cosmoline preservative from Soviet storage. These weren't ceremonial. These were issued for frontline combat. The official explanation: temporary shortage of Kalashnikovs. The disturbing pattern: it kept happening, month after month, regiment after regiment. At least one Russian soldier killed during an assault on Ukrainian positions in July 2023 was found carrying nothing but a Mosin-Nagant. No Kalashnikov, no modern weapon, just a bolt-action rifle his great-grandfather might have used at Stalingrad. But here's the detail that changes everything. With a PU scope attached, the Mosin becomes a surprisingly effective sniper rifle. Same configuration Soviet snipers used against the Nazis. Some Ukrainian units specifically request them for designated marksmen. The rifle that won World War II is still winning firefights. Not because it's obsolete, because it works. And when close quarters combat begins, something even more brutal appears. PPSH-41. In July 2023, a video surfaced that Russian state media tried to suppress. Mobilized soldiers in Luhansk, unpacking wooden crates. Inside, PPSH-41 submachine guns, the iconic drum magazine, the wooden stock, weapons last manufactured in 1945. The PPSH-41 won Stalingrad. Soviet soldiers called it Papasha, Daddy. 6 million were built. Entire battalions carried nothing else, storming buildings with overwhelming automatic fire. 80 years later, it's back. The official story: these are backups. Reserve equipment, temporary issue. The pattern tells a different story. These weren't isolated incidents. Multiple units, multiple regions, consistent appearances throughout 2023 and 2024. Here's what makes this disturbing. The PPSH-41 fires 7.62 25mm Tokarev, a cartridge the Russian military hasn't standardized for decades. Every soldier carrying a PPSH-41 needs separate ammunition supply lines, separate logistics, separate training. Someone made the calculation. It's easier to issue 80-year-old submachine guns than admit you don't have enough Kalashnikovs. The weapon that drowned the Wehrmacht in lead is still being issued to Russian infantry. History isn't repeating. It never stopped. But there's an even simpler version. PPS-43. The PPSH-41 was cheap. The PPS-43 was cheaper. Designed during the siege of Leningrad, 900 days of starvation and bombardment, the PPS-43 was built to be manufactured by starving workers in bombed factories. All stamped metal, folding stock, 35 rounds, could be produced in 3 hours, and in 2023, it appeared in Ukraine again. Video from Donbass showed separatist fighters with PPS-43s, not museum pieces, functional weapons. Here's the pattern that nobody's connecting. Leningrad, Stalingrad, Bakhmut. All brutal urban sieges, all meat grinder battles where quantity mattered more than quality. And in all 3, the same types of weapons appeared. Simple, mass-produced, reliable. The PPS-43 was designed for exactly this kind of war. The siege weapon from 1943 is fighting in siege battles in 2024. Someone in a warehouse made a calculation. These still work. Issue them. 80 years of storage. Still lethal. But the most recognizable silhouette belongs to something else entirely. DP-27 Degtyaryov. The pan magazine on top looks like a vinyl record. Ukrainian soldiers joke about it. Videos show troops pretending to DJ with the DP-27's distinctive disc magazine. The jokes hide something serious. The DP-27 light machine gun was the Red Army's squad automatic weapon throughout World War II, first produced in 1927, last manufactured in 1950, and now it's back in service with Ukrainian Territorial Defense Forces. Here's what the jokes don't mention. The DP-27 fires the same 7.62 mm R cartridge as modern PKM machine guns. Same ammunition, same penetration, same killing power. When Ukrainians needed to arm territorial defense units quickly, they opened the warehouses. Inside, thousands of DP-27s, oiled, preserved, ready. One photographed example was manufactured in 1932, 92 years old, still combat functional. Ukrainian forces have mounted them with thermal sights for night operations against drones. A 1927 design, hunting 2024 technology. Some units specifically request them, not because they lack modern weapons, because the DP-27 doesn't jam. The light machine gun that fought at Kursk is fighting again. But one weapon towers above all others. DSHK heavy machine gun, 50 caliber, belt-fed, designed in 1938. The DSHK was the Soviet answer to the American M2 Browning. Both were created before World War II. Both are still in frontline service in 2024. Both are still killing, but Ukrainian engineers did something unprecedented. They took the 75-pound DSHK, designed for vehicle mounts and anti-aircraft platforms, and made it portable. Massive muzzle brakes to tame the recoil. Custom bipods, shoulder stocks fabricated from scratch. The result, a two-man anti-materiel weapon that can punch through walls, vehicles, and fortified positions at ranges where rifles are useless. Here's the classified detail. The U.S. Army experimented with shoulder-fired 50 caliber weapons in the 1930s. The project was abandoned, considered impractical. Ukraine made it work, 90 years later. The DSHK is also being used for anti-drone operations. Its 12.7mm rounds reach higher and hit harder than small arms fire. When Shahed swarms approach at night, it's often the DSHK that brings them down. A weapon designed to fight Nazi aircraft, now fighting Iranian drones. History loops, the technology changes, the killing continues, but one gun came from the opposite side of the ocean. Browning High Power, John Browning's final design, completed after his death in 1926, manufactured during World War II by both Nazis and Allies simultaneously. In September 2024, Canada announced it was sending 10,500 Browning high-power pistols to Ukraine. These weren't new production, these were the same guns Canadian forces had carried since World War II, manufactured by Inglis in Toronto between 1944 and 1945. One photographed in Ukraine was serial dated to October 1945. The official explanation, Canada upgraded to SIG P320s. The old pistols were surplus. The uncomfortable question, why send 80-year-old handguns to a modern war? Here's the answer nobody states directly. A pistol is a pistol. The Browning High Power fires 9mm, still the world's most common handgun cartridge. Its 13-round magazine was revolutionary in 1935. It's adequate in 2024, and Ukraine needs everything. The pistol that armed British SOE agents behind Nazi lines is now arming Ukrainian soldiers behind Russian lines. History's ironies multiply, but one weapon was designed to kill tanks, and it's hunting them again. PTRS-41 anti-tank rifle, 14.5mm, semi-automatic, designed in 1941 to kill German tanks. By 1943, it couldn't penetrate Panther or Tiger armor. The PTRS-41 became an anti-materiel rifle instead, used against bunkers, vehicles, and fortified positions. In 2022, it appeared in Donbas again. Separatist forces were photographed carrying PTRS-41s. Not for tanks, modern reactive armor makes anti-tank rifles obsolete against main battle tanks. But against everything else? Devastating. Light armored vehicles, trucks, bunkers, walls, anything without tank-grade protection. The 14.5mm round doesn't care that it was designed 83 years ago. It still punches through concrete, still defeats light armor, still reaches 800 meters with devastating accuracy. Here's the disturbing implication. Both sides have warehouses full of these weapons. Soviet stockpiles never threw anything away. When modern ammunition runs low, when supply lines fail, when desperation sets in, the warehouse is open. And the weapons waiting inside, they still work. The anti-tank rifle from Stalingrad is still destroying targets in Ukraine. Not because anyone wants to use World War II weapons, because war consumes everything. Modern weapons first, then reserves, then mothballed stockpiles, then museum pieces. The pattern is always the same. Only the dates change. The same rifles, the same cartridges, the same killing. The war continues. The warehouses get emptier. And somewhere, right now, a weapon your grandfather might have carried is being loaded for combat. Some wars never really end. They just pause.